This episode of The Town is brought to you by The Madison, the new original series on Paramount Plus. Academy Award nominee Taylor Sheridan's most intimate story yet, unlike anything he's ever done before. The Madison follows a family raised in a world of digital distraction, forced by tragedy to truly see one another and come together. Authentic, multi-layered, and did I mention starring Michelle Pfeiffer and Kurt Russell? Don't miss The Madison. New series streaming March 14th, only on Paramount Plus. It is Friday, March 20th. The media covering Hollywood loves to analyze failures. We certainly do our share on The Town. But there's less introspection about the outsized hits, even the out-of-nowhere blockbusters. The Housemaid, a thriller starring Sydney Sweeney and Amanda Seyfried based on the book by Frida McFadden, that was made for about $35 million and released in December by Lionsgate. It's now grossed nearly $400 million worldwide, including $270 million outside the US and Canada. Pretty incredible. Lionsgate's already announced a sequel, of course. So why and how did this happen? What lessons are there, if any, for filmmakers and producers or studio executives? That's what we're talking about today with the film's director, Paul Feig. If you don't know Paul, he's one of the smartest and savviest filmmakers in town, in addition to one of the best dressed. Lucas could take some notes. He's got a pretty high hit rate, including Bridesmaids, The Heat, Spy, A Simple Favor. He created the TV show Freaks and Geeks with Judd Apatow. He's directed a ton of classic TV shows. He's got a very specific process, and he is not afraid of explicitly directing from a commercial perspective. We're going to talk about the place for lower budgeted movies in theaters and what makes a comedy or thriller theatrical, the star question, much more. Today, it's how to make a low budget blockbuster with Paul Feig. From The Ringer and Puck, I'm Matt Belloni, and this is The Town. Okay, we are here with Paul Feig, director, writer, producer. Am I missing anything?
Bon vivant, cocktail enthusiast.
Yes.
Gin maker. There you go.
You're a gin maker?
Yes, I have my own brand of gin. Arding Stall's Brilliant London Dry Gin. Yeah, it's been my obsession for years. And,
wow. I didn't know that. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. So, by the way, I saw you at the Oscars across the way. You were wearing a lovely pink suit. Were you
Thank
there?
you.
Were you there for the Bridesmaids reunion?
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
Exactly. So, which was really cool.
So I wanted to have you on because the Housemaid is a great Hollywood success story. I mean, the fact that this movie is going to do $400 million worldwide is kind of amazing. I mean, I would ask you if you're shocked, but I was looking back at some of the numbers for your other films and like Bridesmaids, almost $300 million. Spy, 235. The Heat, 230. A Simple Favor did $100 million worldwide. You've done some streaming movies too, and they're not all hits, but you have seemed like you are uniquely able to take the lower budget movie and find a theatrical audience. And that is a goal. That is a needle in a haystack these days. So how did you do it? Why is this movie so successful?
I mean, it's all about A, the material you pick, and B, the people you put in it, and C, the experience you bring to an audience in a theater that you promise them and what you deliver to them.
Well, let's talk about that because I am very interested in what makes a movie theatrical these days. And I think the industry is obsessed with what makes a movie theatrical. So what about The Housemaid made it not only theatrical, but a blockbuster?
Because it was a true group experience. I mean, first of all, look, we had a book, a very popular book behind us. So it kind of in that Gone Girl way, we had that.
Sure.
So that was a plus. But then it was I make all my movies as if they're comedies, and definitely The Housemaid is one of my darker films.
Sure, yeah.
Because it's about abuse and everything else.
Right.
So I engineer all these movies, even with the streaming ones I do a lot of test screenings. So like starting 5 weeks into my director's cut, I do the first test screening with a recruited audience, not a friends and family audience.
Yeah, you love test screenings. It's amazing. Most filmmakers cringe and hate them.
I mean, look, I hate them when I'm in them, but if I don't do them, you're insane. And I really am anti friends and family screenings because they don't tell you anything and they will lead you down the wrong path.
Yes, they're butt kissers.
Yeah, exactly. So you basically you're structuring it, making sure always keeping the audience in mind, recording them, not only on audio, but on video. So I can actually, so a movie like this that doesn't have a laugh a minute, I'm watching to see, are they engaged? Are they sitting back? Are they just chewing on popcorn? Or, are they with me? And so
I've heard that you use infrared goggles to watch the audience. Is that true?
Well, not me personally.
You do not. Okay, you're not standing there with a head apparatus on, like scoping people out,
like an ant or a bug.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, we let the cameras do that. We just set them up at the front. We get the whole theater, including myself and my editor, which is always terrifying to see us watch a movie. But so it's that. So by the time we lock picture, we've gone through a million different things. Like, let's trade that out. That's too slow. That joke doesn't work. That moment is not building correctly. We know we have a movie that works for about 90% of most audiences, at least to get a response. So then that in turn will key the word of mouth that we need. Of people go, oh my gosh, you have to go. That's really fun. So we kind of rely on that outside of having the great cast and the great script.
I mean, it's very methodical and, dare I say, data driven to do that. I mean, there are filmmakers that will listen to this and be like, well, that's antithetical to the art of movie making.
Yes, exactly. And you get accused of that all the time. But at the same time, I'm not making independent films. I'm not making art films. I'm making commercial movies. Look, I want them to be great. I don't want them to be, just product. But at the same time, I was in movie jail once, Matt. So,
you were? Where was that? The mid 2000s?
Yes, exactly. After a little movie.
What got you put there?
It was a movie called Unaccompanied Minors, which was for Warner Brothers. Yeah, it was a Christmas movie. It was kind of my first studio film. So I'm just going to take a chance. I thought the material was really fun. Mm-hmm. And when it didn't work, you're like, oh, shoot. And look, I went through test screenings on that, but I made a lot of mistakes on that movie too. My biggest mistake that I did on that film was somehow thinking that the marketing department was my enemy when I was in post-production. So I was like, don't send them anything. I don't want them to have dailies. I don't want them to see any of our cuts until I say it's ready. And that's the dumbest thing in the world you can do. They don't get invested. And then you're cutting yourself off. Now, I literally, after that, it was just like, I want my dailies to go directly from the set to the marketing department.
Right.
Because I want them to see it all. Because they'll start cutting stuff. And then as they're cutting stuff, I go, that's a really good idea. I never would have thought to make that joke, like editing room joke.
They have very commercial instincts. In the marketing group.
So if you're fighting against it, and I lecture to film students all the time, is like, if you're going to make a studio film, love the politics, don't just hold on to your, your baby and not letting me see it.
So you learned a lesson having been in director jail. And when you had success with Bridesmaids, you said, okay, let's hone in on this and let's figure out what works and doesn't work in every moment of a film.
Yeah, because also it's great to have a movie that works for an audience. It's really fun. There's that scene at the end of that one of those movies they made about Hitchcock, I think the one with Anthony Hopkins, and it's for Psycho, and he's in the back watching through the door, and as people are screaming during the shower scene, he's dancing around in the lobby. That's exactly how you feel when you have a movie and it's just an audience is buying everything that you're doing. So it's fun, and then you get a hit, and then you got to keep making movies.
Right. Exactly. And I also read that you poll women. You specifically poll women because you make a lot of female-centric movies and you trust your instincts, but you also want the female instinct on a movie, and you will literally poll women and say, what do you like about this and what do you not?
Yeah, well, all the way through the process, the actors that I hire, I tell them all, please call me on anything. And my producing partner, Laura Fisher, is amazing at that. And my former producing partner, Jesse Henderson, was great at that. And then anybody, on the set who's female, basically, it's like, just call me on something. I'm still a guy, I make movies about women, but I'm still a dude. I'm still going to pitch something that they're like, well, we wouldn't do that. But I'm not like, well, just do it. It's like, oh, good. Tell me what you would do, how we make this more honest.
Right. And in the movie, no spoilers, but there's a Kelly Clarkson song that is used in the movie, and your instinct was to use the Bob Seger song from Risky Business, and your polling suggested, no, younger women are into Kelly Clarkson.
Yeah, it was just like all the women working on this project, the studio and everything, like, what is your celebration song? And Kelly Clarkson kind of went to the top, which is exactly how we got Hold On for Bridesmaids.
No way.
We knew we had this scene about like Helen was going to hire a famous group, but it was like, so we literally polled all the women on the set, like, what is your song? And it just came back Hold On. So it's like, cool. I'd never heard Hold On before that movie.
Well, I am a Gen X male and I love Hold On as well.
Well,
so
there you go.
It's universal, really. So I want to talk a little bit. So just to put a button on Housemaid, there is a twist in the movie, and it is a twist that I think is very central to the appeal of this movie, where it's sort of the man you thought he was is not the man. And is that something that in your mind, when you read this, you thought, okay, that is theatrical? That is something that you can hook an audience and build around to make a piece of material feel theatrical for the communal experience.
I thought it was going to be a really big part of it. But what I loved about the book and the script was that I realized it gave me the chance to make an audience root for everything in the first hour that they should not be rooting for in the second. But I knew it was also a struggle. That was dangerous because if you fool them too much, you don't want them to go fuck you to you.
Right.
You want them to go fuck you to the character and then can enjoy the retribution that happens to him. And so definitely felt like that was going to be fun. And also I knew I almost had two different movies because the first hour is this kind of like, standard, great way, interloper comes in the house. Oh my goodness, there's sexual tension and the wife's crazy. So I knew it kind of had this kind of pot boiler melodrama up front that then was luring everybody in kind of a way that an audience is used to. And then you just pull the rug. And then I know, oh, good, now they're going to have fun. But look, here's the thing, Matt, though. It was the scariest thing about this movie was it's a movie about abuse,
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get a reaction and I want to get, a fun reaction out of an audience and make a movie fun at the end of the day. So knew we could go for it melodramatically the first hour. When we start to learn the real backstory of the wife, that is dead serious.
Yeah.
Like you do not take any fun with that. You make that. And then, then the fun is now we so want to kill that guy.
Right.
Let's just have a great time just torturing the shit out of him.
Do you think Bridesmaids would get greenlit today by a big studio?
I've talked to people who were involved and there's been a lot of talk about it might only go to streaming,
right?
Which I was like, oh God, I was really horrified by that.
Yeah, and we're just not in that era. I mean, Apatow had some juice at the time, and Kristen Wiig was hot off SNL in a way that I don't think the SNL people have that same kind of juice today. I agree with you. I think it would be really difficult.
Yeah, but it's funny because all that feedback I got was sort of right after the pandemic when everybody was trying to launch their streaming service, which I call the dark ages.
Right.
Because suddenly, like, you just couldn't, anything that was in the world of what I do, I couldn't get into a theatrical thing, and it carried over. I mean, I made a movie for two movies for Amazon, Jackpot and Another Simple Favor that both tested huge and played huge with audiences, but we just, they went to streaming. Here's an interesting story for you though, Matt, is when we, I kind of learned my lesson on Jackpot because we just let the reviewers kind of review it off of links and stuff. And so they shit all over it. So I said with Another Simple Favor, like we have to have all the reviewers have to watch it in a theater. We'll recruit audiences, not fake audiences, just like word of mouth audiences.
For real people.
Yeah, exactly. And so in the run up to coming out, we were like 85% on Rotten Tomatoes. Then what happens is we got released on streaming. The whole second round of critics who watched it at home came in and shit all over it and knocked us down to a 60%. And we lost our certified fresh rating.
Okay.
So, and you go like, because they're not having the experience. And the problem with the movies that I make is that you have to have other people around, I think, to let you know it's okay to have fun in it, because they present as dramas, sort of. I mean, in a very loose sense of the form. But if you're at home, you're like, oh, like, there's nothing worse than they think, oh, I'm laughing at this because I'm not supposed to because it's bad. And it's like, no,
Right.
anything you're laughing at, I want you to laugh at.
Yeah, no, I saw A Simple Favor in the theater, and it was exactly that. I would not have had the same experience at home.
Yeah, no, totally. So it's it's the line you walk when it's why studios always classically want to do comedies are comedies, dramas are dramas,
Yeah.
no mixed genre. And now everything great is mixed genre.
But do you need that mixed genre to get a movie to theaters? What is the market right now for a straight comedy in theaters?
It's tough. It's tough. I think you need the mixed genre. And honestly, almost in the way that we're not even telling them it's supposed to be fun,
Right.
Like that's why so many of these horror movies, I mean, Weapons is the classic example. And I love that movie. It was my favorite movie last year because that did exactly what I like to do, which is you come in, oh my God, it's gonna be so scary. And then you start going like, oh, I think this is really fun and whacked out. And by the end, you're like, okay, that was just nuts and great, a great time.
Right. What about the star question? Where do you fall on stars and the theatricality?
I always want to have people in my movies that people know. They don't need to be the biggest stars in the world. I just need to make sure they're really great, and I always check to make sure they're good to work with because I don't want to go through a bad experience with
Oh,
anybody.
who do you call? How do you find that out?
You call around. You call around.
You call around?
Oh yeah. Oh
you can
yeah.
call me anytime. I have
Okay,
opinions.
Matt, you're my new source.
Yeah.
But I also cross-check though, because sometimes somebody will tell you somebody's an asshole,
Right.
and then you'll call somebody else and find out the person who told them they were an asshole is actually the asshole.
Right. Well, and I'm not a good source because people act differently around media people.
I know that's how it is. As a director too, people sometimes put their best foot forward for me. But Matt, of course they do that because you're the king of Hollywood. So
Oh, stop.
they better
please.
be nice to you.
I also think the product market fit is a big deal because as much as stars and actors like to defy expectations and do things maybe a little bit outside the bounds, if the audience wants to see a particular star in a particular type of movie,
Yeah.
I think that can be super additive. And that's, we've talked about this before. People like Sydney Sweeney in this kind of movie. They don't like her as a boxer where she's unrecognizable in a small indie movie. This is how they want to see her.
Yeah, very much so. And it's also, but also it depends on what time, what period we're in, because there was a lot of these kind of movies being made in the 90s.
Yeah.
And then they just went away because what
Right.
happens with all these genres is a genre gets big and then a bunch of bad ones come out and it kills the genre. So the genre's dead for 10 or 20 years and then you come back with it. So, I mean, so much of the response we were getting from people loving The Housemaid was like, it's like one of those 90s thrillers. It's like, Single White Female and What Lies
Right.
Beneath.
Sleeping with the Enemy.
Yeah, totally. And I like, but that's fun because I like maximalist kind of storytelling.
Yeah. These are the Friday night movies you take your significant other to. Those have sort of gone away as people don't just go to the movies on Friday night.
Yeah.
They have to know what they want to see to get tickets in advance.
Yeah. So what was really exciting about this was going online and seeing all these videos that these groups of young women were making. They were going to the theater. They're taking blankets with them. Who knew that people watch with blankets now? But because of the new kind of seating that's more comfortable,
Sure.
they can really cozy in there. So you see them, they're doing videos of themselves, getting all these snacks and mixing different kind of sodas together, and then going in and sitting under these blankets, having fun, filming each other, watching the movie, reacting to stuff. And it's fantastic. That's how you get people back into movie theaters. And then Sydney Sweeney was brilliant because she started reposting on her feed all of these videos. So all these young women were seeing, oh my God, look how fun that is. And it just became this thing of like this is the fun night out to have with your friends. And, that's how we get people back into theaters.
Do you monitor web comments and internet chatter as closely as you do the screening process? It would seem to me like you would probably take a lot of that stuff in.
Yeah. I'm very, very into feedback. It's again, I'm a commercial filmmaker, and if you don't listen, and it's very tempting, because you get all this great stuff, and you hit one woman like doing a review, and she's like, "Worst movie I ever saw." You're like, fuck
Right.
you,
Right.
But you go past that, and you just start to feel like, wow, there's something happening here. But I got to really credit the Lionsgate marketing team because they did so many brilliant stunts. We did this one stunt at the Grove that went everywhere where we gave out plates, these breakable plates. And I made an announcement at the beginning, like, you can scream when Nina screams, and then when Millie says, "I fucking love gravy," everybody break your plates. And so we had this crazy screening. They filmed it all with night vision of all these people breaking plates, screaming, having the greatest time, and this stuff went everywhere. And growing up in the 70s, I remember, I think it was When a Stranger Calls, seeing for the first time an ad where they filmed the audience and these people like gasping and all this stuff. And I was like, that makes me want to see that movie.
Right.
And so I was like, can we bring that back? And they were so great about that. And then they just did a great internet campaign too.
This episode is brought to you by AMC Plus. The critically acclaimed series Dark Winds returns for a 4th season. From executive producers Robert Redford and George R.R. Martin. When a young girl disappears, the Navajo tribal police are pushed beyond their limits, forced to confront unfamiliar land, twisted obsessions, and a trail of grisly murders. This season, one thing becomes clear. Justice has no boundaries. Watch Dark Winds, Season 4, Sundays at 9 p.m. on AMC or stream anytime on AMC Plus. When people say to you, I would like to make the kinds of movies that you make, and I would like them to be in theaters, what advice do you give to filmmakers?
The biggest advice I give is, because it's all about picking the project, whether you're going to write it, if you have an idea that you love, whatever it is. I always say the litmus test for me is, if I was sitting in a theater and I didn't know me and I saw a trailer for that movie, would I say, I got to go see that? And it sounds like an easy thing, but it's also really hard to run that through your head. But if you're really honest with yourself, and this is why I always credit Jordan Peele, I say, like, he is just so smart. Like, Get Out, Us, those movies, I didn't know what they were about. I just like, I have to go see that. And there was just something he found that was undeniable in the way that it was presented, the way that he put it together, just the story, something we hadn't seen. So it's a very undefinable thing of what's undeniable. What do we think people would want to see? But you have to trust yourself. All you have is yourself. Here's the thing, Matt. Having just been at the Oscars, I hate award season so much because it just makes filmmakers like myself feel like shit.
Oh, no. You know what? I hate to be Don Draper here, but that's what the money's for.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, trust me. So I'm very happy about that. There's just something about, like, look, and I love Oscar movies. I think they're really fun to watch and everything. But there is just this thing of, like, this feeling of, like, either I've got to make a commercial movie or I've got to make an awards movie. And my problem with that is, how many movies have we seen that are awards movies that you just kind of go, okay, whatever. You're not in service of the audience,
right?
And I always go back to Bridesmaids. Do you think we thought we were going to get nominated for 2 Oscars about a movie with a woman shitting in a sink and another shitting in her wedding dress in the middle of the street? No, it was all about entertaining people. So So that's, I just feel like.
Speaking of that scene, by the way, though, is it true that you guys added the diarrhea in the street scene because of test audiences? You felt like you needed a set piece there?
No, it was in the writing. It was when we were.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, okay. When we were doing the rewrites with Kristen and Annie, it was just like we need a bigger set piece to show that Kristen really screwed up.
Okay. All right. But I get what you're saying. I mean, we can go on and on about the movies the Academy should nominate and doesn't, but exactly. And you've made several of them, but it's just never going to change. Like, I'm done with that. I mean, even though I feel like Amy Madigan won for Weapons, and that's a movie that you would never think would get nominated.
I mean, that was kind of akin to when Melissa McCarthy got nominated for Bridesmaids. Right. I felt, and I was so happy that Amy won, because that's just a brilliant performance.
Right. What are the odds, if you were betting on one of the prediction markets, of the Bridesmaids sequel ever happening?
Very low.
Very low?
Yeah.
What, you know what, though? It'll happen. I would say at some point that maybe they'll get old enough where it'll be their daughters. Maybe there'll be something. I don't know. But it's such a beloved title that Universal, like, it's almost fiscally irresponsible for them not to pursue it at some point.
They want it.
I know they want it. But,
trust me.
But at some point, I mean, what's holding it up?
Look, it's Kristen and Annie's baby. Definitely.
Yeah.
The thing sprouted from them.
Yeah.
But look, I used to be much better to be on the soapbox because I hadn't made any sequels, but now I've made one and I'm about to make a second one.
Right.
But sequels are just the thing that everybody thinks they want, and yet very rarely do they go, "Oh, I'm so glad that happened." You usually walk away like, "No, the first one was better." Like, "Oh shoot, I thought that'd be better," because the expectation's so high. And the other thing with Bridesmaids is, we all remember shitting in the street and all the wacky stuff on the plane. The reason that movie works is because Kristen Wiig was a mess when we meet her. She's got this great friendship. It falls apart. And we're just like, please get that back together. She sorts herself out. And then you were like, oh, thank God. It's people latch into that movie emotionally because of that story, of that love story between these two friends. And so they can't break up again in the second one, and she can't be a mess again, can she? So then it's just like,
maybe, I don't know.
I know, but as an audience, you're like, oh, really?
I know. Most comedies are fueled by a premise that is very difficult to replicate in a sequel.
Yeah.
And the sequel always sucks.
Yeah. All good comedies. All good comedies are dramas that are funny.
Yeah.
They have to have that emotional core, and if you don't have that, it's just going to be a wacky wedding where everything goes nuts. Well, okay, it could be funny, but it's not going to have the emotional resonance that the first one had. And look, never say never. Somebody could come up with a great idea.
Well, we will definitely play this interview back when Netflix announces that it has greenlit the Bridesmaids sequel, and Universal has pawned it off, and you're all making $200 million to do it for Netflix.
Direct to streaming. Exactly.
Yes, and it'll be Happy Gilmore 2, just with every female star you've ever seen, all showing up in the Bridesmaids sequel.
Oh, Matt. Are you Nostradamus? Are you evil Nostradamus?
Yes.
Paul, can I ask one question?
Yes.
Would you direct a movie for streaming differently than you would direct a movie coming out in theaters? Would you prioritize different things?
No, I wouldn't. But the pressures are on it. The one thing you do think about though is the how quickly people can turn it off. So I think you want, The Housemaid is a pretty slow burn.
Yeah. And you've said that you think of your movies as like shooting them out of a cannon, but you couldn't on this one because you had to set it all up.
No, well, interestingly enough, we had an opening for this one that was like, you're coming down these stairs and you see there's blood and there's like brain matter and and you come down and you watch this cop's feet come down and then they're looking at this body going like, wow, that's a shitty way to die. And then the one cop picks up a tooth and goes like, wow, is that a tooth? And then you cut to, because that's how most of these thriller books are written now. They give that little thing. But we found that it was more fun for an audience to go, oh, I'm just going to watch this happy-go-lucky thing of like this young woman goes to a house. It didn't help us to go, oh shit, something bad's going to happen.
Well, and once they're trapped in the movie theater, it doesn't matter because they're there for 2 hours and they're going to finish the film.
Exactly. Yeah. Nobody walks out before 15 minutes,
But maybe if it was a streaming movie, you would have had to have that. Like you'd have to have the White Lotus floating body.
Is that something you're instructed to do when making a streaming movie?
They don't say it directly, but if you're smart, you go, I think we got to do something like that.
Because there's a lot of chatter now about you have to restate the plot multiple times so that people who are
Netflix
on their phones
says they don't do that.
I love that they're like horrified by that.
I know. How dare you suggest that we want people to continue to be engaged?
Well, like I said, one of the worst experiences I ever had was when I did for Netflix. We did The School for Good and Evil. And, I was testing that in theaters and they said, well, we want to do one of our online tests. So I'm like, oh God. So it's basically like a big Zoom screen, with a million different boxes in it. And you watch people at home watch the movie from the camera in the TV. And it makes you want to kill yourself. Because literally somebody's making a sandwich. The cat's walking by. They walk away to the bathroom for 5 minutes. And then that person's like, well, I didn't understand. It's like, yeah, you missed the whole fucking thing.
It's not us. It's you and, your crossword puzzle that you're doing.
Oh my God, I'm telling you, on the phone and like, terrible.
Oh, amazing. All right. Thank you for coming on. Congratulations on the success. It's a great story.
Thanks, Matt. Really appreciate it.
We are back with the call sheet. Instead of a prediction today, Craig, you can ask me a question. I know we've wanted to do this for a while, so you get the open floor to ask anything you'd like within reason.
Yeah, within reason. Yeah, it's Friday. We already did the box office prediction. So I wanted to ask you, I feel like now, with the Warner Brothers Paramount merger, we're losing one of the major studios and everyone's talking about how we're losing a studio. Is it possible that a new major studio can ever be created? Are we just limited to the ones we currently have? Or can A24 eventually become a major studio? Can a new major studio and a new competitor enter the market? Is that ever possible?
Good question. Well, I'd argue that A24 is sort of on its way by releasing more commercial style movies. But this is a good question because it gets to the heart of why Warner Brothers was sold for so much money. It's very difficult to start a new studio because of the library question. These studios are what they are because they can lean on their decades of library titles. And DreamWorks tried it in the 90s. Spielberg, Geffen, Katzenberg came together, said, we are launching a new studio. We're going to have animation. We're going to have live action. We're going to compete with the big majors. And 10, 15 years later, they couldn't do it because you have to have a very high hit rate to justify the costs of releasing movies. And most studios don't have a high hit rate. So you have to be able to lean on the revenue that you get from exploiting all of those past titles to fund the continued operations of making new movies. And if you look at the only companies that have been able to do it over the past 25, 30 years, they have other businesses. So Netflix, how were they able to do it? Not because they are so good at being a studio, it's because they had distribution. They had a global streaming service that they created a business out of. And then, yes, the studio attached to that global streaming business is now a very fully functioning studio. Amazon makes money in other ways. Apple makes money in other ways. They are the new studio entrants. If you wanted to create a new studio and just rely on being a distributor, that's extremely difficult if you don't have a library. And there is a graveyard of companies over the past 20 years that have tried to do that. I'm thinking like Open Road, even Summit that had the Twilight movies. They ended up selling. It's really difficult.
So because basically Hollywood has been around for so long, there's so much IP. If you weren't there in the beginning to have all of that great IP, you have no shot. But like
not just having the IP, but for 70, 80 years out of those 100 years, the exclusive ability to distribute around the world is what made the traditional legacy studios an oligopoly. No one else had the mechanism set up around the world to distribute movies. Now, via the internet, you can do it like Netflix does via their service, and that upended everything, but that's why they had that exclusive oligopoly.
Would you not consider Amazon acquiring MGM and making a commitment to theaters as them becoming a new major studio?
Yeah, they are.
So they're counted in this? Like Lionsgate is a company that could be acquired by somebody. If A24 gets the library of Lionsgate, could they become a new competitor in that space as a major studio?
First of all, Lionsgate is a studio. It's a small studio. They like to call themselves a mini major, but it is able to distribute around the world. Now, they use a lot of partners in foreign territories where they will sell off international rights and stuff. But if they really wanted to, they could distribute a movie globally. It's just often a better business to sell those rights. The A24 situation is like they do the same. They often will sell off rights around the world, but they could distribute a movie around the world.
They just don't have the library.
Well, they have however long they've been in business. What is it, 10, 15 years? Yeah. And they have a decent library. That's why they are valued at what they are valued in the billions of dollars, is because they are building up that library. It's not huge, but it's got some great titles in it, some Oscar winners. So like, it's just not what the traditional studios have. Those major studios, like look at what Sony did with Netflix, and ability to get a $7 billion pay one deal out of Netflix because of that library and the fact that they're making original new movies.
There's nothing you can do then to create a new major competitor because the library is obviously limited to the IP that already exists and is owned by the remaining current studios.
Create a streaming service and get people to pay, and that's how you create a new studio. I mean, it's global distribution, using the internet to create the revenue stream that funds the movies.
But I'm talking about a studio that competes theatrically.
Oh, yeah. No, it's really difficult. And it's getting harder and harder because that business is so challenged. Sorry, Craig Studio, not happening. I know you're looking at real estate right now to buy up in Playa Vista or somewhere to create Craig Co. Studio. Not going to happen.
I'm not going to buy a piece of the Paramount lot. Well, all right.
No.
Thank you for letting me ask you a question. This is the question of the week. So thanks.
All right. That's the show for today. I want to thank my guest, Paul Feig, producer Craig Horlbeck, our editor, John Jones. And I want to thank you. We'll see you next week.